Hello everybody, my name is Ilya.
And my name is Tyler. Together we make up Kovray, a couple that loves to play board games.
And today we'll be teaching you how to play Ofrenda.
Ofrenda is designed by Andre Santos and Orlando Sa. It's published by Osprey Games, who help sponsor this video.
Let's go to the table and let's learn how to play. As always, you'll begin by setting up. You'll place the family board face up in the center of the play area within reach of all players. You'll remove portrait cards with a higher player count than you're playing with, and shuffle the remaining portrait cards into a deck. After shuffling, you'll place the deck face up in its designated space. Next, you'll draw 4 cards from the top of the deck and place them unlit side face up on the spaces on the family board. You'll set the bags of marigolds and candles to the side. You'll then draw 4 candles from the bag and place them above the cards on the family board. Each player will receive their own Ofrenda board, 3 marigolds, and 3 portrait cards, which will be randomly dealt from the deck. You'll keep the unlit sides hidden from the other players. Finally, whoever most recently lit a candle is the starting player, and you're now ready to play. In Ofrenda, you'll be building an Ofrenda, a colorful, inviting altar with offerings to the dead for Dia de los Muertos, which is a Mexican festival of the dead. You'll do this by taking portraits and candles from the family board and placing them into your Ofrenda board, being mindful of the arrangements, as each portrait and candle will have an objective you'll want to achieve. The game will end after each player has taken 12 turns, at which point the player with the most points wins. Now, Ofrenda is played in turns. Each turn, you'll perform 3 mandatory actions: take a portrait, replenish, and place or discard a portrait. You'll additionally be able to take some optional actions, which will include taking a candle and placing candles and marigolds into your Ofrenda board. Let's go over each of the actions. Taking a portrait. You'll take 1 portrait from the family board and add it to your hand. Taking the portrait furthest from the deck has no cost. However, to take any other portrait, you'll need to place 1 marigold from your storage onto each portrait you're skipping over, left to right. If you've taken a portrait with a marigold, you'll simply add the marigold to your supply. There's no limit to how many you can have. Now at this point, you'll have the option to take a candle. You may only take a candle if you have space for one. You may only have a maximum of 3 candles at a time in your storage. When taking a candle, you can always take the candle above the portrait you took for free. But if you wish to take a different candle, you need to place a marigold from your storage onto the portrait below the candle you wish to take. Once in your storage, the candles will stay there until placed in your Ofrenda. You can never discard candles from your storage. That's the first step. You'll now replenish. If needed, you'll slide the remaining portraits on the family board to the left and refill the empty space, which will be the rightmost space. You'll do the same with the candles. If you took one, you'll slide all the remaining candles to the left and replenish the empty space on the right. You're now ready for the next phase. Place or discard 1 portrait. You can choose one of the portrait cards from your hand to place in any empty spot of your Ofrenda board, unlit side face up. If you place into a slot with a marigold icon, you'll immediately gain a marigold from the supply. If you place on a space with a marigold icon crossed off, you'll need to return 1 marigold back to the supply to place there. If you do not have any marigolds in your supply, you may not place in that space. Now, another important feature to note is the golden outline. Portraits in these spaces will double their final score, so place wisely. The other action you can take instead of placing is to discard the portrait and gain 3 marigolds. You'll place any portrait from your hand into the discard pile next to your Ofrenda and gain 3 marigolds from the general supply. This does mean that your Ofrenda board will have an empty space at the end of the game, as each player only has 12 turns, just enough to fill the entire Ofrenda board with portrait cards. Now let's talk about the portraits themselves. Each portrait has a family branch, which is the color and the shape you'll see surrounding their favorite offering. Why are both of these elements important? Well, they fulfill and sometimes prevent fulfillment of objectives on adjacent portrait cards and candles. Diagonal adjacency does count here, so some cards may be adjacent to 6 others, while some only adjacent to 2. The objectives can be found at the bottom left of each card. There's 3 different types you'll see throughout the game. Let's go over them. This one indicates that all adjacent portraits have to have at least one of the 2 depicted features. This portrait card, for example, would not meet that objective. These examples of objectives look for 2 or more adjacent portraits that have the depicted feature. This objective indicates that in order to score, no adjacent portraits can have either of the 2 depicted features. All the objectives you'll see in this game will be variations of these 3. Now, once a portrait card has all of its adjacent slots filled, you'll check if the objective has been met. If it has, you'll flip the card to its lit side. If not, it'll stay unlit. And that's card placement. You want to be careful with how you place your portraits, as you'll need to keep in mind the portrait's objective and all the neighboring portraits and their objectives. Now, in addition to placing or discarding a portrait, you can optionally place a candle or marigold on your Ofrenda board. Each candle or marigold is adjacent to 3 portraits. When filling the third adjacent portrait, you may choose to place a marigold or candle, depending on the icon present in the corresponding space. Now, this is the only time that you can fill that space. Marigolds simply go onto the board, but when placing candles, you'll place them unlit side up. You want both of these to be adjacent to as many lit portraits at the end of the game, as they will earn you additional points. Now, candles, like portraits, will have objectives. These objectives will refer to portraits and marigolds anywhere in your Ofrenda board, not just adjacent. Some will look for specific features or marigolds, while others will ask you to have a full set of different colors or offerings. Once achieved, you'll flip the candle to its lit side. Now, some candles may only be flipped at the end of the game, as they may relate to other players or your game end condition. An example of this is majorities for a feature or marigolds in your Ofrenda board, or simply if you have 3 or more marigolds in your storage at the end of the game. And that's a turn. You'll keep playing, taking portrait cards, and filling your Ofrenda board until everyone has taken 12 turns. You're now ready to score. You'll first check to see if you can flip any remaining unlit portraits or candles. Next, you'll give every player a scoring sheet and begin calculating your score. Each unlit portrait will score 0 points. Each lit portrait will score 2 points per adjacent lit portrait, and 1 point per adjacent unlit portrait. If the portrait is in the golden slot, you'll double that score. Each marigold on the board will score 1 point per adjacent lit portrait, and each lit candle will score 2 points per adjacent lit portrait. You'll sum up your points from the portraits, marigolds, and candles, and the player with the most wins. If tied, the player with the most lit portraits wins. If still tied, the player with the most marigolds wins. And if still tied, you'll share the victory. Looking for an extra challenge? Well, you can try the common goals variant. Here, you'll race to achieve goals to score additional points. If at the end of your turn you fulfilled a requirement of a goal card, you'll take the topmost available scoring token. You may only score each goal once, regardless if you've achieved the condition more than once.
And that's Ofrenda.
Do you have any questions? You can leave them in the comments down below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
If you found this video helpful, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button if you're new here, because we love talking and teaching board games to folks just like you.
Now, for our question of the day, what festival or holiday would you like to see captured in a board game?
Let us know down in the comments below, but until next time, we will see you in the next one. Bye!